You ever think a sunset walk could turn into national news? Yeah, I didn't either. But let me tell you, when you spend your life fighting for a place to stand, it's amazing how quick the world will try to knock you down just for daring to show up. I wasn't looking to make headlines or become anyone's rallying cry. All I wanted was a peaceful evening, me and Titan, my late wife's war dog, walking those Santa Barbara cliffs like we'd done 100 times before except this time. They came looking for trouble, and I was the only one who could see the storm coming. Let me back up a sec. See, Titan isn't just a dog. He's a legacy, the last stubborn, loyal piece of Camille I got to hold on to. Camille Air Force handler, protector, the only person who ever really saw me train Titan herself, said he was too soft for combat but perfect for guarding my heart. Some dogs follow commands, she used to say, winking like she had a secret Titan follows hearts. That's how I ended up out there, walking with his leash in one hand, Camille's dog tags warm against my skin, and 1,000 memories marching behind me, right as the sun bled gold into the sea and the whole sky looked bruised. Santa Barbara is the kind of town where folks wave at you until one day they just stop. You ever feel the air change before you hear the thunder? That's what it was like. First, it's just a few too long stares, a couple neighbors turning away. Then you notice a black and white patrol car that's suddenly everywhere idling 2 blocks down with the engine running, the kind of thing that's not supposed to mean anything but tells you everything. You know what I mean? I try to tell myself to just keep moving, don't give them a reason, don't show fear, don't let them see you shrinking, but fear has a way of finding the cracks, even when you think you've sealed them tight. I could hear Camille's voice in my head, walk like you own the ground. Walk like they can't erase you, and I tried. God knows I tried. But some nights the world feels like it's waiting for you to trip. The first time it happened, I spotted them down by Mission Ridge. Clay Breener, the one with a smile that never reached his eyes, sergeant stripes polished to a mirror shine, standing next to that patrol car like he owned the block. His boys, Matt Riley, too new to realize what was happening, too scared to walk away, and Drew Watkins, the one who'd laugh just a little too loud when somebody else was hurting. They didn't say a word, just watched. Titan growled low in his throat, and I kept moving, but I could feel the heat of their eyes on my back. You think maybe you're imagining it, until it happens again and again. They were always there, at the gas station, the park, leaning on that cruiser like it was their porch. They never said much, but intimidation doesn't always need words, does it? The kind of men who don't like to see a black woman walk tall, especially not one with a military dog and no apologies. One evening, just as the light slipped away and the world turned violet, Titan stopped dead, ears up. I followed his gaze and saw their cruiser creeping closer, slow as a shadow. This was no longer about a wall kit, it was about whether I had the right to be seen, to be unafraid, to exist. I felt it in my bones. This was a test, and I wasn't going to fail. Not after everything I'd lived through fighting for a place in classrooms that didn't want me, for a marriage half the country still pretends doesn't count, for the right to walk my damn dog without fear. I cut down a side street olive. I think in there they were waiting. This time, they didn't even pretend to be casual. Clay leaned against the hood, arms folded, sunglasses on in the twilight, jaw clenched around some private bitterness. Drew was spinning his baton like he was practicing for a show. Matt just hovered in the background, trying not to look nervous. "Mornin', ma'am," Clay called out as I passed, tone too smooth, too fake. "Walking that big old dog again." Drew chimed in, tapping the baton. "Hope he's not too much for you." Titan turned his head, reading them the way only a dog like him can. "He's trained to protect and to recognize danger," I said, meeting Clay's gaze, watching for any sign of decency behind those cop eyes. For a split second, something flickered, maybe respect, maybe just surprise, but then he smirked again, playing the part. "We've had complaints," he said. "Big dog like that makes people nervous. He's on a leash. That's the law," I replied, calm and steady. Clay shrugged. "Perception matters. Just looking out for the safety of the community." I tilted my head. "Are you? Because it feels more like you're reminding me you're watching." His smile faded just for a heartbeat. "Enjoy your walk, ma'am." But the air had shifted. You could feel it like the static before lightning. I kept going, but it was different now. Every step felt heavier. People looked at me like they couldn't decide if I was a neighbor or a threat. The lady with the stroller crossed to the other side. The kid at the bookstore wouldn't meet my eyes. It wasn't new, but it still stung because every time it happens, it chips away at something you fought like hell to build. That night, I listened to Camille's old voice memo, just 12 seconds, her voice raspy from the cancer, but still strong. Whatever happens, walk like you always have. Don't let anyone shrink you, especially not when they smile while they're doing it. I played it twice, then put the phone away. Titan leaned against my leg, eyes steady, and we walked home through the silence that was suddenly listening to every step. The third time, there were no witnesses. Or so I thought. I took the old gravel path behind the mission, a place that had always felt safe, sacred. Camille's favorite route. Titan tensed up before I saw anything tail stiff, head low. Then headlights. No sirens, just the slow roll of the cruiser crunching over the rocks. Clay behind the wheel, Drew in the passenger seat. Matt leaning forward, face pale. They stopped 10 feet away. Clay got out, smoothing his uniform, Drew cracking his knuckles. Evening, Miss Jameson. Beautiful night, isn't it? Titan's growl rattled the quiet. I didn't break eye contact. You're not here to talk about the weather, I said. Clay played innocent. We're just making sure everyone feels safe. I stared right back. Are you? Because I don't. Drew started circling, baton swinging loose. Mind if I see that chain? It meant Camille's tags. They're not yours, I said, voice flat. He reached anyway. I didn't flinch. This was the moment every sideways look and polite threat had promised. I gave Titan one word guard. He was up in a flash, a wall of muscle and teeth, not attacking, but blocking warning. Drew jumped back, rattled. Clay's hand hovered near his gun. Call him off, he barked. I didn't move. He hasn't touched you, I said. This isn't going to end well for you. You're right, I said, holding his gaze. It went for you. And then a faint whir above us drone, buzzing softly. Turns out, a teenage kid named Jordan Ellis had been flying it, caught the whole thing on camera. Didn't mean to, but once he saw what was happening, he started recording. Suddenly, Drew lost his nerve, glancing up at the blinking light. Shit, he muttered. Clay looked, too, cursed under his breath. I told Titan heel. We walked away, me and that dog, leaving 3 grown men frozen like someone just pulled the curtain on their little show. That video no commentary, just raw footage hit the internet that night. By morning, my name was everywhere. Some folks call me a hero. Others said I was making trouble, playing the victim, training Titan to attack. Thank God someone finally showed what those officers are doing, someone wrote. But plenty wished it would all just disappear. The town split right down the middle. Neighbors who used to bring me bread started crossing the street. A kid on a bike hollered, "We got your back, Miss Jameson," like he was tossing me a life raft. I appreciated it, but support's easy from a distance. In the stores, people muttered, "You shouldn't have talked back." Sometimes they didn't say anything, just watched, waiting for me to break. But I didn't. I took Titan into the veterans' brunch, sat next to Susan the widow, and let her pass me a glass of orange juice without a word. Deputy Mariah Lake called that afternoon. DA's office was opening an investigation. "You had a witness and a dog who didn't back down," she told me. "It's going to get louder before it gets better." That night, someone spray-painted "liar" on my mailbox. The next morning, someone else left tulips on my porch. No note. You learn who people are in times like this. Eventually, the DA called, wanted me to testify. You'll be under a microscope. They'll dig up everything, question your memory, your motive, your temperament. I told her, I've been questioned my whole life. Let them try. And I meant it. The courthouse was colder than I expected, echoing with footsteps and side eyes, like even the walls were waiting for me to mess up. Titan had to wait outside, but I felt him there, steady. On the stand, I told the truth, the slow erosion of peace, the looks, the little threats wrapped in fake concern. I talked about Camille, about Titan's loyalty, about choosing not to back down. When the defense tried to twist my words, I said, if telling the truth sounds exaggerated, maybe you haven't been listening long enough. The courtroom got quiet, real quiet. The verdict came down guilty on all counts. Clay's face didn't move. Drew looked away. Matt sat with his hands clenched, eyes wet. I didn't cry, didn't smile. Just breathed deep, feeling free for the first time in weeks. Outside, Titan was waiting, tail thumping slow. I knelt, pressed my forehead to his, and whispered, "We did it. We held the line." For a second, I felt that old fire again. Look, I never wanted to be a symbol. I was just a woman walking her dog, honoring a promise to the person I loved. But sometimes, history finds you. Demand you Chisido, you stand, or do you disappear? When the officers tried to erase me, I didn't let them. I kept walking. I didn't run. And when the whole town was forced to watch, it wasn't my voice that made the difference. It was my presence, quiet, unshakable, real. The world loves a neat ending, but real life doesn't work that way. The court found those men guilty, sure. But the community's still arguing, still drawing lines, still figuring out what side of the silence they want to stand on. All I know is this: dignity isn't given. It's chosen every day, every step, even when you're tired, even when you're scared, even when nobody claps. So let me ask you, where are you being called to stand your ground? In your job, your neighborhood, or just showing up for someone else who's been silenced? Don't wait for someone to hand you courage. Choose it. And if this story meant something to you, if it sparked something in your chest, do me a favor. Share your thoughts below. Let's talk about justice, community, and where we go from here. Because stories like this aren't just meant to be watch-it theory, meant to wake us up.